without the help of your vision, and how you start to see with different parts of your body, how the other senses are heightened. Wow. And it is... And we had low vision actors to work with us as well within the cast. So it was, it's such an eye-opener about what we consider a handicap and what stops a human being, which is nothing. So when you're watching it, you will forget that people are working without vision, and I think you'll start to appreciate your own. How I come out of it is tough, is that sometimes I don't look at people when I'm listening to them, and they think I'm not paying attention because
that's good.
You're hearing, you're smelling, you're sensing.
Real quick, you have such a range. Just thinking about this role, and then we were talking about Core that I had watched before years ago. How do you pick your roles?
If I'm reading it, and I just read it like I'm reading it Times, it can be a good story, but I'm not there. If I read it and every time it says Paris, something starts to go there, then I'm organically connected to it.
Has to move.
So you feel it, okay.
You feel it. Yeah. You are such a delight. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, I am so happy to be here.
In person. I know. My goodness.
Do you feel like the bad guy in this? Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in? Has it been worth it to make this trip? Do you feel like you're giving a green light to politicians? How do you explain why your case has become so important?
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
Hey everybody, it's Hoda Kotb from The Today Show. I am so excited to tell you about my new podcast, Making Space with Hoda Kotb. I sit down with some incredible people and we'll hear some uplifting stories.
Listen to Making Space now on Apple Podcasts.
News is more than a headline. It informs, it inspires, and it still matters. To cover it, you have to be in it. And that's what we're gonna do. Every night, we take you to the front lines of the story, where it's actually happening, with NBC News journalists on the ground from all over the world. We cover what you need to know and bring your newsfeed to life. In primetime and streaming live, it's your news playlist every night.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Still to come on the Channel 2 News. Well, the waters are certainly receding now.
Still too close to call.
Lester Holt reporting from the
Ground Zero, as it's being referred to.
It is, in fact, the taste of freedom.
The Haitian people know a little something about resiliency.
What's the biggest risk right now?
Some of the troops who have been proud.
I want to welcome you to the first presidential debate. In fact, we've been told we can't go any farther. You with some resilient folks, let me get a hint.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
From the big screen to Broadway to television, Daniel Radcliffe has been a household name for decades, most notably working his magic on fans in the Harry Potter series.
Geraldine Viswanathan has starred alongside Hugh Jackman, Allison Janney in the 2019 drama Bad Education. A year earlier, she made audiences crack up in the big screen comedy Blockers.
But Daniel and Geraldine star together.
What's her last name?
Viswanathan. I've got it. They star together in the TBS comedy Miracle Workers, produced by Lorne Michaels, and it is in its third season. This time around, their characters hit the Oregon Trail. It's a preacher and a prairie wife.
Guys, it is so good to see you. Geraldine, can we just start with you? How do we do on your name?
Beautifully.
Thank you. Have you been called everything? Because I know, as personally, with a person who has a kind of different sounding last name, I get all kinds of iterations.
Oh, yeah. In high school, I was Viswana whatever.
Viswana whatever?
Yeah, the teachers would just go down roll call and be like, Viswana whatever. And I'd be like,
wait, the teachers did? Oh, my God.
Yeah. I know, that breaks Daniel's heart. Daniel, we have to, first of all, Hoda and I love this series. We think it's so much fun. And before we get to anything else, we have to talk about this little dance routine that you did in this season. Can you just tell us what's going on? I hope we can show it.
We're going to show this scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I can tell you what's going on better than just
word.
watching it. Yeah. So yeah, at one point I was on Zoom in the writers' room, and they pitched this thing where they were like, so there's this scene where your character, who's been this very sort of like timid priest the whole time, drinks snake oil, and then does like an extended disco version of She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain When She Comes, and also twerks and vogues in that. I mean, those two dance things were specifically requested. So yeah. A lot of time with an amazing choreographer called Chris Catelli, and I had voguing lessons from a guy called Tomas Matos. I hope I'm saying his name right. And you know, I know from those lessons that I'm doing 1% of what actual people who vogue do. But it was, it was very fun. It was one of the most insane and fun days.
Well, you know what's funny, Daniel? Sometimes when we do a dance, we don't know what it looks like, and then we go back and watch it and go, "Wow, that's what it looked like." What was it like when you got a gander of what it looked like yourself?
It was, yeah. I mean, you know, it was weird. I mean, it was definitely like I had such a great time doing it, and so I'm very glad that it turned out okay in the show. But yeah, it's not something like I'm glad other people are getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. I'm not going to be like rewatching it constantly because that would be a weird thing for me to do.
But also, I hope they led with the pleather underwear because if not, that's not fair. Yeah. Geraldine, so what?
I have all.
Geraldine, what has it been like working with Daniel? I know that, and sorry, Daniel, she doesn't mean this personally, but you weren't really a Harry Potter fan.
So sad.
I don't know what I was doing, but I missed it. But I revisited that in quarantine. That was my mission. So now I'm a Harry Potter fan.
Oh,
wait, how many of them did you watch in quarantine?
Tell the truth.
I watched all of them.
What?
Oh my God! Wow, that's okay.
And what'd you think?
I mean,
are you a fan?
I love it. I mean, obviously.
Really putting on spot.
I was asleep at the wheel as a teen.
Geraldine, it looked like, first of all, it looked like so much fun on this set. I mean, you have a great cast. It looked like you were literally holding back laughter watching Daniel in that scene. What was it like working together?
It's a dream. Daniel is the most wonderful, down to earth, just a dream scene partner, really. And every season, the whole cast, we all really truly love each other, and it's every season it's so fun to get the band back together, and it's just a good time.
Still to come on the Channel 2 News. Well, the waters are certainly receding now. Still too close to call.
Lester Holt reporting from
Ground Zero, as it's being referred to. It is, in fact, a taste of freedom.
The Haitian people know a little something about resiliency. What's the biggest risk right now?
Some of the troops who have been proud.
I want to welcome you to the first presidential debate. In fact, we've been told we can't go any farther. You were some resilient folks. Let me get a hint.
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
Do you feel like the bad guy in this? Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in? Has it been worth it to make this trip? Do you feel like you're giving a green light to politicians? How do you explain why your case has become so important?
News is more than a headline. It informs, it inspires, and it still matters. To cover it, you have to be in it. And that's what we're gonna do. Every night, we take you to the front lines of the story, where it's actually happening, with NBC News journalists on the ground from all over the world. We cover what you need to know and bring your newsfeed to life. In primetime and streaming live, it's your news playlist every night.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
So excited to be catching up with Grammy and Tony winner Renee, Elise, Goldsberry.
She stars in the Emmy-nominated Peacock original Girls 5 Ever, bringing sass and laughs as the self-absorbed member of a 90s group trying to make a comeback.
But she also stole our hearts as Angelica Schuyler in Hamilton, now 5 years after that role, and she's up for an Emmy for the filmed version of the Broadway hit.
And Renee is with us to talk about all of it. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here on today.
In person.
So
yes. In New York City.
I know. Yes.
It's all coming back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, here's the thing. We say 5 years since Hamilton. First of all, it's hard to believe because I watched it 3 times last week.
There
I
you
kid
go.
you not,
Yeah.
with my son
house,
on
it's always
Disney
on.
Plus. So you're nominated for an Emmy for the film version. if I'm not mistaken, that places you just one away from EGOT status.
Two away.
Is it
Two away? I'm a gutter.
A gutter.
I'm not an EGOT. You know, I can't believe I got the gutter. The G and the T is a miracle.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with what I got. But I have this nomination, which is
It's so amazing.
so shockingly wonderful.
It was so funny. I was reading, you know, obviously so many powerful performances in this show. We're talking about, you know, Girls 5 Eva, Hamilton. One here, it says, I read that if you could ever write your autobiography, the title would be called After Satisfied.
That's right.
What does that mean?
Well, in the moment, it meant that the stress, I used to be so stressed when I was doing the show. I mean, I couldn't even relax and enjoy it because I was always, it's just such a beautiful, important number. Technically, emotionally, you know, challenging.
Right.
And when it was over, I felt like I could just sit back behind Leslie Odom Jr.
I always wonder about
wait
that
for
with
it. Like,
stars. You know when they have a song that everybody's like looking forward to hearing?
Yeah.
And
And
then
when
when
the audience
knows the
had
words
the cast
to it.
recording, they knew every single word
Yes.
of that.
Yes.
So if I got it wrong, they would have known.
I get it.
It started there,
Never
and
got it
now
wrong.
it's just about my life after Satisfied
okay.
and all the blessings that it brought, like the opportunity to be here with you today.
Yes.
Thrilled to have you here. One of the things, my biggest thrills was I got to be a Schuyler sister for a moment.
remember. You look just like one, Al.
on that turntable. But you know, you talk about Broadway.
There's the footage.
There we go.
It really is depressing. That how little rhythm I have. But
Stealing the show is what you're doing.
tell me about why is Broadway return so important for New York's comeback?
Broadway is synonymous with what's brilliant about New York City. It's why we pay all these rent prices, you know, and why, you know, I think we've done a really good job of making this be a shining city in our country, and we attract really talented people. I mean, my career is, I'm specifically indebted to what happens in New York City. The room, you know, being in the room where it happens, kind of like, it means like being in New York City. People come here to change the world, and you get a little piece of that when you can come see really talented people on Broadway tell really important stories that are still relevant 5 years after they were on Broadway. So it's really important, and it really symbolizes that we are, as human beings, coming back from this pandemic. We are resilient. And we're ready to celebrate.
Even these
again.
folks here, you know?
I know, everybody's back.
Our fully vaccinated
I know, they
crowd.
proudly get their vaccinations. They want to come to the crowd. They want to be here and
Be a
like
part of
touch
New York
shoulders
City.
again. Absolutely.
We have to talk about Girls 5 Eva. I mean, it's picked up for a second season. The first season, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's hard to do.
Shocking.
Before we talk about it, I want to take a look at this one scene where you're kind of tidying up as a house guest. Take a look.
This is the scene.
Is that a trash pile?
Of course not. It's to donate. I'm very giving. That's our microwave. It has a button that says baked potato. Invest in yourself. I do. I wash my bra every other week. A clean, fresh space is my gift to you for letting me stay here. I have an eye for this. Every interior designer I've ever worked with has said, then why don't you just do it?
I think all the scenes in that show is the least glamorous moment.
I know, because you do get glam moments.
comedy is there.
We love seeing you like that. We love seeing the silliness, the humor. I mean, is it fun to kind of transition and play that kind of role? And how do you get into it?
First of all, I get to work with Sarah Bareilles, who was here recently, I hear. Paula Pell, Busy Phillips, that wonderful Tina Fey show, Meredith Scardina writing. It's that's a dream come true. And you know, the comedy part is something that's just very much who I am. My friends are like, finally the world gets to see how ridiculous you are. I feel like theater people, we are really at home anywhere.
Yeah.
We're just always surprised somebody has a camera in our face. And so I love being on the show. It's doing really, really well on Peacock, and I'm so glad you guys
That's so
like
great.
it.
Were you really in a girl group back in the day?
Oh my God, yes, girl. I was in everything there was to be in.
What was your girl group called?
What was it called?
I think it was called, first of all, we did not get a record deal on Things Inside Heaven, but I think it was called Female.
Wait a minute. Here we go.
Look at this. Oh my God,
Yes.
there, my girl.
Please, y'all had a real situation going.
We
That's
were
not
so,
like.
how did we not get signed?
Wait,
There's still time.
Look at us.
There's
you know,
still time.
That obviously not professional pictures. That
I
was
think
on
we
my
need to get you
balcony.
guys
The
back
crop
together.
top and everything.
Lindsay Gamard just started her new job as a product data analyst. She now works mostly from home in Arizona.
A lot of us feel like we can be more productive in a home office environment rather than in a physical office building.
Lindsay says in May, her previous company required staff to come in at least 50% of the time. Many quit. The extra work led Lindsay to resign.
Did you feel like the company had a set of rules and it wasn't going to compromise?
Those were the rules. There wasn't going to be any compromise.
In a June survey by job search site Monster.com, 95% of workers considered changing jobs. The most common factor, burnout, followed by a lack of job growth, which is exactly what Lindsay felt.
I kind of ran out of room to grow.
This is definitely a job seeker's market.
Vicky Salemi is a former corporate recruiter and career expert at Monster. She says this is a great time to consider a new job or even a career change. Recent labor statistics show nearly 4 million employees quit their jobs. Compare that to more than 9 million available jobs.
What are the hot industries right now?
When you look at the jobs that are available, there's bank teller, veterinary technician, pharmacy technician. So they're really everywhere. Security guard, different industries all throughout the country.
The top 3 industries with the most openings, education and health services, followed by trade, transportation, and utilities. Third, the professional and business services sector, which includes office temp work and accounting.
The good point to the Great Resignation is there are opportunities out there, so it's an awesome time to be looking.
And they're not just quitting their jobs. Americans are also pivoting their careers. 92% of workers surveyed were willing to change. Salemi says don't worry if you've never worked in a particular industry. Just be sure to highlight the skills you have that can transfer to any job. For example, customer service and hospitality can cross over to healthcare.
Employers say that when they're evaluating candidates for the right fit to hire, they're looking at resume, work experience, and interview presence. And they don't really focus that much on the specific work experience, but it's really a good time to pivot.
When you are considering whether or not you want to leave your current job, what are some things to keep in mind?
You should consider a few things. Number one, flexibility. So where do you want to work? Do you want to work from home? Do you want to work in an office? Or do you want a hybrid situation? So when you're starting your job search, you can pursue opportunities that provide you with what you want to be happy.
As for Lindsay, she loves her new job. She says she hit the jackpot working for a company with a work-from-home first approach and growth opportunities. Plus, it didn't take long to get the offer.
They called me within 24 hours to offer me the job.
24 hours after your interview?
Less than that, yeah.
Wow. How did this process make you feel?
So I would say that the process did make me feel empowered because I felt like I, as the job seeker, kind of had the upper hand, that I was valuable, and feeling valuable is empowering.
Now, Lindsay says it can be daunting to put yourself out there, especially if you're switching careers. But start with small steps. Reach out for informational interviews. Talk to the people in your network first. And just remember, the grass is not always greener.
Where anecdotally, you hear so many people saying they're looking to switch, they're trying to find new jobs, and you're seeing that too.
And they're in the pole position, which is great.
Yeah.
Know your skill set and be willing to put yourself out there if it's time for a change.
Cool. All right, Vicki, thank you.
I like job seekers market.
The workplace getting a makeover. From spaced out desks to foot traffic control, new safety measures to reduce COVID risk. A recent survey by Stanford University shows working from home increased from 5 to 50% during the pandemic, but that's expected to drop to 22% when the pandemic ends. A key consideration for returning to the office, vaccinations.
Everyone needs to do what they can to get vaccinated.
Joseph Allen is an associate professor and director of the Healthy Buildings program at Harvard University. He says while he hasn't seen companies requiring vaccinations, they should prioritize safety with mask wearing, social distancing, and air ventilation and filtration.
If you do all of these things, we know, and we've seen it, that this can drive down risk to acceptable levels.
Last year, we showed you the 6 feet office concept designed by real estate developers Cushman and Wakefield. From different colored carpeting to keep coworkers socially distanced, to disposable paper desk pads that help keep shared spaces clean, and even signage reminding people where to stand.
How does this change the way we interact with each other?
Now, on the short run, it's a bit more getting used to change your habits. People really appreciate to feel safe, to be back at work, and to enjoy your colleagues.
Something you might not see when returning to the office, plexiglass. Turns out that is a barrier that could restrict airflow and create stagnant pockets of uncirculated air. COVID testing is also important. And don't be surprised to see rapid testing devices like this one when you head back to the office. This is the Icon Rapid PCR test. All you do is provide a saliva sample in this cartridge, stick it back in the machine, and in 30 minutes, you get a result right on your smartphone. Co-Diagnostics makes this test. It's not approved yet, but the company says the FDA will review it this summer.
Testing becomes valuable when you, in this transition period, when you have some number of people vaccinated and some who aren't. The frequency of testing is the most important component of the test, even more so than the test sensitivity.
Expect plenty of hand sanitizer stations and these arrows on the ground directing foot traffic through the building.
And what about common areas for snacks and coffee? Experts say while the risk of surface transmission for COVID is low, many offices are cutting back on these communal areas for now.
Something else to expect, a hybrid work schedule where some workers are in the office while others are at home, and a staggered work day to help cut down on the rush hour commute.
Come in earlier, beat the rush, leave at off hours. I think that's a good strategy, not only for their workers, but collectively.
Some major U.S. companies are already trying out staggered work schedules. Microsoft partially opened its campuses to employees in the Seattle area just last week, but it's also keeping a hybrid model. In Dearborn, Michigan, Ford is creating areas called collaboration centers for employees needing to team up on the job. And going big, Google investing $7 billion in additional office space and data centers across the country, adding a minimum of 10,000 full-time employees. Conference room meetings, collaborating with coworkers, corporate America looking to get back to pre-pandemic business.
Now, Joseph Allen says a common concern for employees is what about the elevator? But he says there's likely little to worry about. For most of us, we're not in them that often or for long periods of time. And if you're wearing a mask, that will provide some protection. If you are still worried and you're only going a few floors, sneak in a workout, take the stairs.
Yeah, or just hold your breath. I've been known to do that in our elevators. You too? Oh, yeah. So what about if you're commuting and maybe you're a carpooler? Or you take mass transit. Are there any tips for that?
Yeah, good question. I'm still thinking about you holding your breath.
Well, that's only.
So here's the thing. You want to ask your boss about a staggered schedule. You want to avoid that rush hour. Also, don't be shy about asking to work a hybrid schedule where you may not have to come into the office every day. If you are taking public transit, keep wearing that mask, carry your hand sanitizer, and wash your hands as soon as you can. Consider also getting off the bus or the train a stop or two early. That cuts down the time that you're on mass transit or holding your breath, and it gives you some time to exercise.
I'll never live it down. Neither will Chanel. No, me and you.
What about if you're carpooling?
Yeah, so if you are carpooling, you want to ride with the same people and try to keep the windows and doors and vents open. Not doors, the windows open. And also, it is helpful to keep your mask on as well.
Take the convertible Jeep with the doors.
There you go, there you go.
What if you just don't feel, or you're skeptical about returning to work and then the safety protocols they're not in place? How do you handle that?
You do want to have a conversation with your boss, a frank one. Ask what they're doing to improve workplace safety. Are they following at least the CDC guidelines about masks and social distancing, or perhaps reducing the capacity at work? If you're on the job and you do feel unsafe, you can actually file a claim with OSHA. Now, if you don't want to go back to work at all because you're just worried or you're unafraid, you should know your boss is not obligated to hold that job for you. So consider that.
I feel like this would be interesting. Some people like staying at home and working from home.
Yeah.
Some people are probably dying to get back in the office.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to have this sort of safety conversation and use that to their advantage or not.
I think a lot of the major companies are saying, look, it's not going to be 100% work from home. It's not going to be 100% working from the office. We will be entering a new normal when it comes to work.
But you have so many employees, especially here, I mean, for our company, who've demonstrated that they can be just as productive at home. In some cases, maybe even more so.
They're redefining what's essential in any work, in any industry.
Thanks, Vic.
Thanks,
Great tips.
Hopefully the good changes that everyone likes.
I think we'll stick around.
News is more than a headline. It informs, it inspires, and it still matters. To cover it, you have to be in it. And that's what we're gonna do. Every night, we take you to the front lines of the story, where it's actually happening, with NBC News journalists on the ground from all over the world. We cover what you need to know and bring your newsfeed to life. In primetime and streaming live, it's your news playlist every night.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Still to come on the Channel 2 News. Well, the waters are certainly receding now.
Still too close to call. Lester Holt reporting from the
Ground Zero, as it's being referred to. It is, in fact, the taste of freedom.
The Haitian people know a little something about resiliency. What's the biggest risk right now? Some of the troops who have been proud. I want to welcome you to the first presidential debate. In fact, we've been told we can't go any farther. You were some resilient folks. Let me give you a hand.
Does the White House think they have an Afghanistan problem or a COVID problem? Do you believe the abortion issue should reflect the will of the people or the will of the elected officials? The vaccine mandate. Is this going to work or is this going to backfire? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Hey everybody, it's Hoda Kotb from The Today Show. I am so excited to tell you about my new podcast, Making Space with Hoda Kotb. I sit down with some incredible people and we'll hear some uplifting stories.
Listen to Making Space now on Apple Podcasts.
Take a rapid COVID-19 test twice a week at work. That's now an option for hundreds of employees at Genpact, a digital consulting company in Texas.
I am going in to get my test.
Nichelle Boylan says it was a no-brainer to opt in. A quick swab of the nose, and within minutes, she learns the result on her phone. If it's positive, she heads home to isolate before coming into contact with coworkers. If she's negative, she goes into the office.
Does it give you peace of mind?
Total peace of mind. We want to return to work, but we want to do it safely. And this helps us.
What is this doing for your employee population?
It's improving their morale. It's improving their confidence that when we say, look, we really have safety protocols that allow you to come to office.
Now, some scientists say programs like Genpact's should become standard practice so employees can safely return to work without fear that their coworkers could be asymptomatic but infectious. Harvard epidemiologist Dr. Michael Mina has been advocating for frequent rapid testing since the start of the pandemic.
What do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to rapid testing?
That rapid tests are not accurate. When used frequently, say twice a week, they will be very sensitive.
He says these rapid antigen tests will catch people who are sick before they even know they're sick, which means they stay home and don't spread the disease.
Is that the most effective way to get back to what we had pre-pandemic, to reopen businesses, to reopen schools safely?
Absolutely, even if spread is ongoing in the community.
He says while Genpact's program is a good first step, businesses and even schools should adopt at-home testing. We saw it firsthand back in January.
So now you're going to swab your nose.
For this test made by Abbott, simply swab your nose, insert it into the card, and results appear in about 15 minutes.
This is definitely giving me pregnancy test flashbacks.
That's right.
To see how effective these tests can be in the real world, Mina launched a study with Citibank in February, asking 6,000 employees to test themselves at home 3 times a week. The results are uploaded to an app which tells them whether or not they can go into the office.
What have you found so far?
Almost immediately, we began finding infected individuals who would have otherwise gone to work not knowing that they were positive and transmissible that day.
The Citibank study will be completed in June. Meanwhile, Genpact is also finding asymptomatic cases. The CDC says using workplace screening to stop the spread of virus is most effective when combined with masking and social distancing. The agency recommends weekly testing, especially for businesses like hair salons and manufacturing plants, where employees are close together.
Testing plus vaccination together, I think, is the way to bring the economy back in a much faster way.
And it's very easy. I literally took this test this morning, got the results in 15 minutes from my kitchen table. Negative, yes. One line, negative. Yes. Well, Genpact's testing program is voluntary. The company says about 70% of its workers are taking part. And soon they're going to be able to do these at home twice a week. And as we talked about, you test positive, you're already at home, you isolate, you get a confirmation PCR test after that to let you know you really are positive. That way, you're not at risk of coming into the office and spreading it to everyone else before you know that you're sick.
Something like this has to happen before everybody can go back to work. I mean, there has to be some mechanism in place for sure.
So Vic, can anybody buy these tests, these home tests, anywhere?
Yeah, so the FDA has just given emergency use authorization to 2 of these at-home tests. So now they can be purchased over the counter. This one, the Binax Now test made by Abbott, they're available in Walgreens, CVS, $24 for a box of 2 tests. The box, really simple. Looks something like this, yeah.
My question is, how accurate is it?
Well, so the key is they're most effective. These rapid antigen tests are most effective for detecting people when they are infectious. The CDC says then you got to take that second step and get the PCR test for confirmation. But the whole point is this is a screening test. So Dr. Mina is saying that had we been doing this testing from the beginning, we would have lowered our community infection rates a lot quicker.
I had 2 relatives who they thought they had allergies.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it turns out they had COVID.
Oh.
So, I mean, those are the kind of cases where you think, oh, you take a Benadryl and go to work.
What if you've already been vaccinated, though? I mean, do you still need to do this?
So you wouldn't, but here's an occasion where you might consider it. Let's say you're going to a big event, a wedding.
Yeah.
Because the science right now says even if we're vaccinated, we're not going to be sick or have severe symptoms. We could still be infectious. So if you take a test like this, you're vaccinated, but you find out you might be carrying the virus and infectious, you stay home from that big event. So that's an instance where you might see people wanting vaccinated individuals to still take the test. If these were more affordable, it'd be easy to have everyone test too, and you'd have another layer of security.
That's one question I was going to have. I mean, $24 for two. I feel like you almost wouldn't take the test unless you're really feeling something.
Exactly.
But so many people are asymptomatic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you still recommend taking the test even if you don't have any symptoms?
Yeah, so that's the reason that, Dr. Minna and others say you need to make these things more affordable, and they need to be paid for either by the government or through your workplace, so people are more apt to take them.
Sure.
$24 for two is still a high amount.
Right.
Yeah. It's nice to have if you have a big event.
Yeah, Vicki Nguyen, thank you so much.
News is more than a headline. It informs, it inspires, and it still matters. To cover it, you have to be in it. And that's what we're gonna do. Every night, we take you to the front lines of the story, where it's actually happening, with NBC News journalists on the ground from all over the world. We cover what you need to know and bring your newsfeed to life. In primetime and streaming live, it's your news playlist every night.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Hey everybody, it's Hoda Kotb from the Today Show. I am so excited to tell you about my new podcast, Making Space with Hoda Kotb. I sit down with some incredible people and we'll hear some uplifting stories.
Listen to Making Space now on Apple Podcasts.
It was a wealthy, idyllic town forced to confront racism. But when the school board presented its plan, it ignited a national firestorm.
Critical race theory.
Racism
in reverse.
False narrative.
Shame.
This is Southlake. All episodes available now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. We'll take you to the front lines of the story, bringing your newsfeed to life. Streaming live every night. It's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Hey everybody, it's Hoda Kotb from the Today Show. I am so excited to tell you about my new podcast, Making Space with Hoda Kotb. I sit down with some incredible people and we'll hear some uplifting stories.
Listen to Making Space now on Apple Podcasts.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Today. Let's go. Is the Delta variant more dangerous to kids, or is it simply more transmissible?
Maryland's Principal of the Year.
I served an amazing group of staff and students.
Zooming has become a verb. But here's the question. Could days filled with those virtual video calls be taking a toll on your mental health?
Here's the hot take. Yes. NBC's investigative and consumer correspondent Vicki Nguyen, though, also has the why. Vicki, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. This really confirms a lot of the things that we've been feeling, right? For many, logging onto those video meetings for hours at a time has allowed people to work safely from home. But many of us are also experiencing a heightened level of anxiety and fatigue. Now, new research from Stanford University is telling us why.
From FaceTime to Teams, and of course, Zoom. They're the video conferencing apps that have kept us connected during the pandemic, even with some epic fails.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
But after almost a year of meetings in those Brady Bunch boxes, many can't help but feel burnt out. Jonathan Tianco is a principal at an LA area school and spends up to 10 hours a day on Zoom calls.
Being on Zoom all day long can be incredibly exhausting.
And it's not all in your head. Researchers at Stanford University have been studying what they call Zoom fatigue, looking into the psychology of video conferencing and its effects on the brain, all to pinpoint the reasons those virtual video calls can leave you exhausted.
Zoom, in many ways, it's like a fire hose where you're getting smothered with nonverbal communication.
Dr. Jeremy Bailenson team surveyed frequent Zoomers and found 1 in 10 people felt high levels of fatigue, and 1/3 felt at least some fatigue. One of the reasons we're so bogged down, all of those eyes staring back at us.
It's as if everyone in the elevator stopped looking at their feet or at their phones, and all of them turned and stared right at you.
And because we're talking through webcams, those small and effortless nonverbal cues, like a slight smile to show approval, aren't easily observed, forcing us to exaggerate with a thumbs up or a dramatic nod. After hours of Zoom calls, that can cause our brains to feel beat.
I will take in-person meetings over Zoom meetings any day of the week.
Another culprit, you. That mirrored image of yourself during meetings may make you more critical of your appearance and actions.
It's stressful, and it causes us to have negative emotions.
And of course, there's the strain on mobility.
And when I'm on a video call, I'm forced to sit in this cone, this field of view of the camera.
Researchers found sitting still for hours at a time during meetings not only wears you down, but can also make you less creative and less productive.
Don't you feel it?
Yes, I do.
I really do. And there's some things I hadn't even thought of about just all those eyes on creates its own kind of stress. So what are some hacks? Like if you want to just make this a little better for yourself.
Here's the first simple one, right? Dr. Balin says one of the most impactful things you can do, turn off your self-view. So it keeps your camera on, but it's not going to show you the mirrored view, which can make you feel really stressed out when you're constantly looking at yourself. So in Zoom, you just right-click on your video and then click down to hide myself. And researchers say that women actually could benefit from this because we're harder on ourselves when we're looking at our reflections.
And I was just thinking of kids, too, who are in school, because if you're a shy kid and your face is always up and everyone's always looking at you.
Exactly.
There is something about the proximity of the screen to where you are. I feel like we're right up in it. Our nose is practically pushed to it.
Yes, and people are larger than life, and that can actually trigger a stress response. So one thing to help with that is getting an external webcam. I found some last night for about $20. This allows you to keep the camera closer to your face. You look engaged, but you can then push your computer monitor back so people's faces aren't right up in your face. You can also put the screen on speaker view, so you kind of see one person at a time when they're talking, and then keep them smaller. Don't let them fill up your whole monitor if it's a big monitor.
What about just ditching video conferences altogether?
Yeah.
Is that a possibility?
Remember those days?
Something positive come out of that?
Back in the day, we called them conference calls, where you just do it on audio. They say that's actually a great thing. If you don't really need to see people, that helps to reduce the fatigue. Also, you can put it on speaker, you can walk around. You're not sort of tethered to that cone of the camera. Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah, you could, I mean, honestly, you could do like a yoga pose. You could walk around, you could take a walk. It makes such a difference. Has there been any research, Vicki, about the other side of this, people who, want to have more of a say during a video conference?
This I thought was really fascinating. So on the flip side, look, if you want attention and you want people to perceive you as credible, the researchers actually found the person in the top left corner of the screen is viewed that way. And how do you get that prime position, that coveted spot? You got to be the first to log on to Zoom with your camera on. So you'll be in the top left corner. Yeah, the pole position.
That's so funny.
Make the most of your day with Today All Day. Get closer to all your friends at Today in a whole new way.
Today in
30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Shop today with Jill Martin.
We're helping you shop like never before.
The latest styles and biggest names. Today Food.
Things are heating up in the Today All Day kitchen.
Cooking essentials and recipe inspiration.
Get ready. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Only on Today All Day.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you feel like the bad guy in this? Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in? Has it been worth it to make this trip? Do you feel like you're giving a green light to politicians? How do you explain why your case has become so important?
Still to come on the Channel 2 News. Well, the waters are certainly receding now.
Still too close to call.
Lester Holt reporting from the Ground Zero, as it's being referred to. It is, in fact, the taste of freedom.
The Haitian people know a little something about resiliency. What's the biggest risk right now?
Some of the troops who have been proud.
I want to welcome you to the first presidential debate. In fact, we've been told we can't go any farther. You with some resilient folks, let me give you a hint.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Back to class, back to the gym, and the return of indoor dining. As temperatures drop and Americans head inside, there's growing concern about an increase in COVID-19 cases.
I am concerned when I see things starting to move indoors, and that becomes more compelling when you get into the fall and the winter season.
In this simulation, watch how droplets from a sneeze linger in a classroom with poor ventilation. The droplets slowly cover nearby students in a thick but invisible cloud. According to health experts, enough virus could be in this cloud to get someone sick, even 5 minutes after the sneeze. But add in a ventilation system and the particles thin out quickly. Within a minute, they get sucked up by the air intake vents in the ceiling. But some particles are still blown back down. The best scenario? Open windows and doors for fresh air. The outside air dilutes the droplets. Within 2 minutes, there's a much lower concentration of virus inside, making it less infectious. Our Today Show graphics team worked with Reinhold Lohner to make these simulations. He runs the Center for Computational Fluid Dynamics at George Mason University.
When people watch this simulation, what do they need to know about airflow and how important it is indoors?
Probability of infection increases with the time that particles remain in the room. And it also increases with the number of particles that you inhale. Ventilation is very important.
The risks you see in this classroom simulation may also apply when you're dining indoors, working out, or at the office. Shelley Miller, an expert in indoor air quality at the University of Colorado Boulder, says you can look around to see if an indoor public space is safe.
Look for open windows, and that will be a good sign that there's outside air coming indoors. You also want to sense whether you're feeling hot or it smells kind of stuffy, because that will indicate to you that there's actually not enough outside air. Make sure that people are wearing masks and that it's not super crowded.
To show how a mask makes a difference inside a public space, let's go back to our simulation. Remember the sneeze without a mask? It creates a dense cloud that lingers in the room. Here's what it looks like with a mask. Fewer particles escape into the air, and they're more dilute, less likely to make others sick.
Some public spaces, especially classrooms, may have older ventilation systems or windows that don't open. In those cases, a room air cleaner like this could be helpful. It recycles and filters the air in a room. Before you buy, be sure to check the box. You want to make sure it's designed for the right size room and that it has a certified clean air delivery rate. The higher the number, the better. Plus, check to see that it has a high efficiency or HEPA filter.
Experts say if you're dining indoors, keep the mask on until you have to eat and don't linger.
You're going to be taking a break and talking and engaging with your friends. And so when you're doing that, you should put your mask back on.
Yeah, and our expert says if you are eating inside a restaurant, keep it to 60 minutes. And don't forget, even with good ventilation, you still need to wear your mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance to reduce the spread of COVID-19.
All right, you've been talking about public spaces, but some people are worried about having the disease like in their own home. Is there something you can do to clean that area out?
Yes, if you have a lot of people coming and going who may be strangers, then you do need to be concerned about that. The good news is if you don't, and you live in an apartment, for example, our experts have said there are no known cases of COVID-19 spreading through shared ventilation systems between apartments or even dorm rooms. So that's good news.
Okay, and is there a situation where you would need one of those air cleaners in your home? And is that, I mean, are we talking about air purifiers? Same thing?
Yes, they are, but you have to make sure that the air purifier is certified, that it has a HEPA filter. And they say that this would be a good idea if someone in your home is sick to put one of those air cleaners in the room with them, in addition to opening windows if you can. That would help decrease the chances of anyone else in your house or anyone who has to go in and out of that room of getting sick, because that air cleaner is constantly exchanging the air and catching any potential coronavirus in a filter.
You got to change the filter. Yeah.
That's key.
Because we had one of those.
Change the filter,
and I just assumed that, you could keep
They don't go forever.
And you make a good point about in classrooms, an air purifier would be a good idea to have.
Absolutely. That might be something parents want to consider chipping in and buying one.
Yeah.
The one that we showed you in the story, $200, but it could be really helpful for this school year.
We always learn something from you, Vicki Wynn.
These are places we may not be able to visit for a while. Come with us
as we take you there, into our incredible world.
Woo!
South Korea assaults the senses with sights and sounds. It can be overwhelming. High rise, high tech, but with a flip side that has its roots in a more tranquil, ancient age. On our journey through this incredible country, we will encounter everything. From K-pop to giant robots. And the amazing women freedivers of Morado Island. But for the first-time visitor, this collision of yin and yang can be confusing. So I think I'm gonna need some help. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Kier.
Travel writer Hannah Yoon is giving me a tour of the nation's capital, Seoul.
Yeah, some people say it looks like an alien spaceship.
And a crash course in Korean culture.
I think Korean people are really passionate about sports, about food, about family.
Food. Now that's a good place to start.
This is Gwangjang Market. They have some of the best street food in Korea here.
Gwangjang Market is a mecca for foodies from around the world.
This is tteokbokki, spicy rice cakes.
It's like sticky rice.
Let's go a little bit of fish. Yeah.
65,000 people a day visit here.
This is called omu. It's very fishy.
Delicious. There are noodles, noodles, and more noodles. These are kimchi dumplings. And a near obsession with a fermented spicy vegetable dish, kimchi. I love kimchi.
The more Korean of a thing you eat, the more that Korean people love it.
Good.
You wanna go for a coffee?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Koreans are crazy about coffee.
Crazy is right. This is, well, the sheep cafe. Of course, there's a meerkat, raccoon, and kangaroo cafe too. And at cafes, you can sip your own selfie.
Wow.
And here at the Princess Diary coffee shop, you get to dress up for your dream wedding. Nearly ready. That goes for the groom too. How do I look? I think the trousers may be a little big. I feel a bit like Charlie Chaplin. South Koreans have a thing for the weird and wacky, which combined with that love of food produces this.
So this is a mukbang where people broadcast themselves eating because people don't want to feel lonely when they're eating at home by themselves. This particular video has about 6 million hits.
6 million people?
Yeah. And this is
watching
only...
this guy eat?
Yeah.
The streets are bustling. This is a work hard, play hard culture.
There's a lot of pressure to do well, to perform well.
And pressure to look good. Image is everything here. No wonder some South Koreans are obsessed with cosmetic surgery. Let me show you something. On this floor, this floor, this floor, this floor, this floor, and on, they all offer plastic surgery. In fact, this whole district in Seoul is dedicated to making people fit the beauty stereotype. Dr. Kim.
Hi.
Dr. Kim is one of Seoul's top cosmetic surgeons. In Korea, he says, parents often give their kids cosmetic surgery as a graduation present.
Asian patients maybe want to have the concept of beauty in between the Asian and Caucasian.
A kind of mixed look?
Yes,
a
mixed
fusion.
look. Yeah, many people prefer the mixed look. Please look at this scanner.
Now, my turn. Dr. Kim takes a 3D scan of my face. So what can he do for me?
Recommend you to make the eyebrow higher. Your nose is quite nice, but tip is bulky. And you have some wrinkles around the eyes.
I quite like my wrinkles around my eyes.
You like it?
Well, I mean, yeah.
You like it now, but 20 years later, you will have more wrinkles.
For $10,000, he says, I can have this.
So before and after. Before surgery and after.
Have you had plastic surgery?
Of course, I had some procedures to make my face a little look younger. It's quite common procedures in Korea.
Because you look 25.
Actually, I'm 54, too old.
Dr. Kim, himself an amazing ad for his profession.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
Another obsession in this country, K-pop.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
We all know this guy. But there's more to K-pop than size. These days, K-pop stars like BTS are showing up in the US,
We're back with BTS.
appearing on talk shows.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is RM. I'm the leader of this group.
And this is Temin. He's so talented, they call him the Idol's Idol. K-pop expert Stacey Nam gets us an exclusive backstage pass.
That's called a fan chant, right? So is they'll repeat the last word that he said. Like in one of the sentences, he says the word Adam Dawar, which means beautiful, and then they say in response, beautiful.
You're beautiful too.
Yeah, you're beautiful.
But how do you become a K-pop star like Temin?
So you can audition, so that's one way.
Right.
One way is what they call street casting, which is when you're literally found on the street.
I could be just heading home from school and then, boom, there I am, a K-pop star.
Right, so maybe not you.
Backstage, we get to chat with Temin.
Thank you for your coming.
You have it all, my friend. You have the looks, you can dance, you can sing. Feels good, right?
Yeah.
Temin has been big here for a decade and recently toured America. And American fans scream.
Oh, yeah.
I can see why.
You can see why.
American girls would scream.
왜 좋아하는지 알 수 있겠다고. 미국 팬들이.
What does it take to make a K-pop star like Temin? And more importantly, do I have it? K-pop choreographer Yoon Jung-bae knows exactly what it takes. At an audition, I can tell if someone's a good dancer in 5 or 10 seconds, she says. Oh dear. So, maybe I don't have what it takes? But as the sun goes down, this way to the action.
Yes, I think it's every way actually to the action.
There's action in every direction. Hannah and Stacey tell me that on a night out in Seoul, everyone can at least dream about being a K-pop star. Even if you're not much good. I think we've heard enough of that. Coming up, South Korea, a country of contrasts, where ancient and high-tech collide. From the serene ritual of a 2,000-year-old tea ceremony to a face-to-face encounter with a giant robot.
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
Do you feel like the bad guy in this? Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in? Has it been worth it to make this trip? Do you feel like you're giving a green light to politicians? How do you explain why your case has become so important?
News is more than a headline. It informs, it inspires, and it still matters. To cover it, you have to be in it. And that's what we're gonna do. Every night, we take you to the front lines of the story, where it's actually happening, with NBC News journalists on the ground from all over the world. We cover what you need to know and bring your newsfeed to life. In primetime and streaming live, it's your news playlist every night.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Does the White House think they have an Afghanistan problem or a COVID problem? Do you believe the abortion issue should reflect the will of the people or the will of the elected officials? The vaccine mandate. Is this going to work or is this going to backfire? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Hey everybody, it's Hoda Kotb from The Today Show. I am so excited to tell you about my new podcast, Making Space with Hoda Kotb. I sit down with some incredible people and we'll hear some uplifting stories.
Listen to Making Space now on Apple Podcasts.
South Korea has roots going back thousands of years, back to what many believe was a more enlightened time.
Hi, Keith. Hi, Care.
Travel writer Keith Gioppo moved to Seoul from New York 7 years ago. He takes me into this ancient palace in the heart of Seoul.
In the 60s and 70s, the old generation, they knocked everything down to make way for modernization. But now people are starting to realize how precious it is. It's 5,000 years old. This is a part of our DNA.
And today, younger Koreans are rediscovering their rich heritage, from the fashion for wearing traditional costumes to learning centuries-old calligraphy. And this ancient martial art called Taekyon, also known as dancing with kicks. It perhaps inspired modern Taekwondo, South Korea's national sport. Then there is this, a 2,000-year-old tea ceremony.
Here, we just kind of relax and enjoy every little pour. So when you take the cup, make sure you take it with 2 hands. You bring it up to your nose, get a fragrance of it. And when you drink it, make sure you drink it all in 3 sips.
It's all about harmony, isn't it?
Yeah, balance and harmony.
Yin and yang. And if the tea ceremony can be thought of as yin, then this is yang. One of the most advanced tech nations on the planet, South Korea is often home to the very latest gadgetry. Virtual reality, face recognition technology.
There I am.
Smart homes.
Now that's grocery shopping.
And even smarter robots.
Have a nice trip.
At the airport, you might be greeted by one of these robot guides. There are robot fish, and these droids are skiing. Sort of. Now all these guys are kind of cute, but then there's this. Meet Method 2, 13 feet tall, weighing in at 1.5 tons, and yours for $8.5 million. He's powerful. So powerful that for safety, scientists had to limit his strength.
If the robot is much stronger than humans, people feel threatened.
It's the creation of Yang Jinho, who dreamt about building robots as a kid. And today, $100 million later, that dream came true.
We wanted to make a tool that helps humans.
To go into hazardous environments like nuclear disaster zones. This metal giant, wish me luck, is also the world's first manned bipedal robot. That means you can drive it.
Ben's looking a bit nervous. A sense of power. It's awesome.
Right now, there are limitations with robot technology. Method 2 is still taking baby steps, tethered for safety. A future dominated by robots may be a long way off, but one day, we'll be meeting a lot more of these marvelous metal machines. Up next, I travel to the southernmost tip of the country and get a lesson hunting for seafood with the Haenyeo, the incredible women freedivers of South Korea.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. We'll take you to the front lines of the story, bringing your news feed to life. Streaming live every night. It's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Do you feel like the bad guy in this? Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in? Has it been worth it to make this trip? Do you feel like you're giving a green light to politicians? How do you explain why your case has become so important?
Hey everybody, it's Hoda Kotb from The Today Show. I am so excited to tell you about my new podcast, Making Space with Hoda Kotb. I sit down with some incredible people and we'll hear some uplifting stories.
Listen to Making Space now on Apple Podcasts.
Still to come on the Channel 2 News.
Well, the waters are certainly receding now.
Still too close to call.
Lester Holt reporting from
Ground Zero, as it's being referred to.
It is, in fact, the taste of freedom.
The Haitian people know a little something about resiliency. What's the biggest risk right now? Some of the troops who have been proud. I want to welcome you to the first presidential debate. In fact, we've been told we can't go any farther. You with some resilient folks, let me get a hint.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Hey everybody, it's Hoda Kotb from the Today Show. I am so excited to tell you about my new podcast, Making Space with Hoda Kotb. I sit down with some incredible people and we'll hear some uplifting stories.
Listen to Making Space now on Apple Podcasts.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
Now we are traveling to the southernmost tip of South Korea, to the remote and tiny island of Murada. Because of its ragged coastline, surrounded by treacherous seas, it was once known as the Forbidden Island. Today it is home to 100 people. Among them, this extraordinary group of women. Hey! They call themselves the Haenyeo. And they follow a tradition that goes back hundreds of years.
Haenyeo.
At 41, Kim Chae-young is the youngest Haenyeo on the island. All year round, she, her mother, and aunt dive together in these treacherous waters. The Haenyeo, or women of the sea, are modern-day mermaids. Without air tanks, holding their breath for up to 2 minutes at a time, these women collect seaweed, shellfish, and octopus from the seabed. How dangerous is it?
조금 더 다른 생각을 하면 안 돼.
If you're thinking other thing, it's really dangerous.
Last year, one woman was swept away. Is there a risk from sharks?
Yes, a lot.
A lot of sharks? With a handful of seaweed, Kim demonstrates how to keep the mask from fogging and the whistling technique that helps the Haenyeo control their breathing. Few get the chance to dive with the Haenyeo. To start with, I wasn't very good. With a little help from my friends, I began to get the hang of it. I just got one. More. Just when I was thinking, he's got more. Keep working, she said. Stop talking, keep working. This is a tough living. The women have a saying. One breath, one shellfish.
I want people to know about Haenyeo.
Photographer Wai Zin, who introduced us to the island, first encountered the Haenyeo a few years back.
When I met them, they look really strong and look really happy.
But back then, she says, these amazing women had no idea what people thought about them.
Mama Haenyeo told me she didn't know how much she be proud.
She didn't know she could be proud of herself.
Yes.
Until you came along.
Yes.
Wai Zin has been documenting the Haenyeo and their proud tradition in a book of extraordinary photographs.
She's 94.
94. This is Kim's grandmother. After 80 years, she still dives almost every day. And as night falls, it's time to cook up the catch. Is this the octopus that you caught today? We saw you grabbing it out of the rock. If you do all the work all day, what do the men do? Nothing.
남자가 할 수 있는 일 없어.
They do nothing.
They
The
just
men do nothing.
waiting the lunch.
Waiting for their lunch. The words of the song are, why was I born? The life of a Haenyeo is so hard, and the water is so cold. To the henyo. But at dawn, another day brings another dive. Aspirin to thin the blood, chewing gum in the ears to protect against the pressure. Secrets that may one day be forgotten. Their daughters lured to more modern careers. Only 4,500 henyo are left in the whole of Korea.
How long do you hope this tradition continues for?
Just keep going, she says. Just keep going.
There they go.
There is a lesson here. Even when we're at our most advanced, there is value in the past. South Korea is a fascinating mix of both.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. We'll take you to the front lines of the story, bringing your news feed to life. Streaming live every night. It's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Do you feel like the bad guy in this? Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in? Has it been worth it to make this trip? Do you feel like you're giving a green light to politicians? How do you explain why your case has become so important? Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Will coronavirus come back next year?
So to help make sense of it all, we've created a newscast just for them. Man, you know a lot. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition. Do you feel like the bad guy in this? Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in? Has it been worth it to make this trip? Do you feel like you're giving a green light to politicians? How do you explain why your case has become so important?
Still to come on the Channel 2 News. Well, the waters are certainly receding now.
Still too close to call. Lester Holt reporting from
Ground Zero, as it's being referred to. It is, in fact, the taste of freedom.
The Haitian people know a little something about resiliency. What's the biggest risk right now? Some of the troops who have been proud. I want to welcome you to the first presidential debate. In fact, we've been told we can't go any farther. You are some resilient folks. Let me get a hint.
These are places we may not be able to visit for a while. Come with us as we take you there, into our incredible world. Woo! You'd be forgiven for wondering why anyone, after the horrors of the recent past, would journey through a vast, desolate forest to a kind of Armageddon. Perhaps it's to explore that as bad as things have been in this pandemic, they could be worse. Like here in Ukraine, at the epicenter of the world's worst nuclear accident, the deadly, radioactive hot zone of Chernobyl. So my Geiger counter has started making a noise.
Quite legitimately.
That number's going up and up.
Yeah, it should.
We can't be here for long.
We can't live here, I would say, but we can visit this area.
My guide, Sergei Murney, and I make our way through the dense undergrowth. Then we find ourselves in Main Street of a once thriving village. It's like the clock's just stopped.
It used to be the biggest village of the zoo, and we are in the middle of this village.
This was the doctor's office. These are people's medical records, just left on the floor. And among the remnants of life that was once here, newspapers dating back to the Soviet era.
Oh, it's pravda.
This is about the Soviet space program.
Yeah. And this is the village shop. It says food stuff. No marketing was needed back then.
It's the local store?
Yeah, local village store.
How many people lived here?
3,000 people. It was the biggest village of the zoo. And
3,000 people lived here. And now?
Well, nobody.
There's nobody. Sergei was here in the spring of 1986 when the deadly radioactive fallout fell from the sky. A botched experiment with the cooling cycle at the power station turned into a nuclear disaster. At its peak, the reactor was burning at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, unleashing 400 times the radioactivity of the Hiroshima nuclear bomb, sending a radioactive cloud across 60,000 square miles. More than 300,000 people were evacuated. Like the children who used to attend this school. Everyday things, dolls, shoes, a bike, left behind in a hurry.
Someone learning music.
Strange to think that the little ones who were once here will now be middle-aged. It is eerily quiet.
Give me your Geiger counter.
But the radiation is everywhere.
Here you see the edge of the roof where the rainfall drops down. And now if you measure the trace, you will see that it is much higher than
It's going up, the numbers are going up.
Yeah, exactly. During my work in the Chernobyl zone, and the radiation levels in the center, in the most contaminated areas, were exactly 1,000 times higher.
Than this?
Than this, yeah.
Back in 1986, Sergei was one of the many military men sent here when the reactor blew up. He had been trained for nuclear war. His job at Chernobyl was to help clean up the radioactive waste, along with over 500,000 other men.
So this is where it happened?
Exactly. And you can see the turbine hall of the nuclear power plant. This is the roof of the third unit.
Some of his colleagues doing the most dangerous job of all, clearing the fallout from the roof of the reactor.
Those guys, they were allowed to work for a very, very short period of time. Look how quickly they run, because they have very limited time.
They were incredibly brave.
And all of us were crazy back then. When each day you go into this site, and this site, there were tens of thousands of people all around. You feel yourself just a small, live particle of this huge mess. And so it suppresses, the feeling of danger.
Just a mile from the reactor through the forest is Pripyat. Once a gleaming new company town, full of good jobs, new schools, modern apartments. It is now a silent city.
So that's the hotel. That's the cinema.
The buildings are here, but the people, 50,000 of them, have gone. Long ago. Their apartments abandoned, their hometown forgotten and radioactive. And for centuries, the law says, no humans can live here.
This Ferris wheel had just been built, never used. People were told they'd be evacuated for 3 days.
That was more than 30 years ago. And when humans leave, nature reclaims its territory. Trees grow up through the ruins. Plants and flowers bloom everywhere. And even in the reactor's cooling pools, catfish grow to enormous size. Wildlife is thriving here in Chernobyl.
This is the place where nature speaks with human beings on equal terms. And it teaches humans modesty, I would say.
Modesty?
Exactly.
Why?
We should be wiser after this.
As we leave, we are checked for radiation.
Clear.
And we should all remember, not just that our lives can be irrevocably, catastrophically turned upside down, but that if we truly learn from the past, we can make a better future and a better world. These are places we may not be able to visit for a while. Come with us as we take you there, into our incredible world. Woo!
Well, hello there. Look at our Today All Day viewers. We see you. You are looking real good this morning.
And thank you for spending part of your Tuesday with us. Of course, you're back for another episode of Today in 30, so we want to break it down for you.
Facebook and Instagram are finally up and running again after that worldwide outage impacting billions of users. Just ahead, Mark Zuckerberg's apology and new answers about what went wrong.
Plus, we got the chance to talk exclusively to the legendary William Shatner 1 week before the original Star Trek icon, Captain Kirk, is actually going to the final frontier, a real trip to the edge of space with Jeff Bezos' company.
That's unbelievable. And there was a lot of excitement around here this morning when a soon-to-be two-time member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame stopped by, Dave Grohl. Wait until you hear the life stories he had to share.
And guess what? All that is just for starters. Let's go, Hoda. It's time for
Today in 30. NBC senior Washington correspondent Hallie Jackson has it all covered for us. Hey, Hallie, good morning.
Hey, Hoda, good morning to you. And this morning, new answers to how one of the biggest social media companies in the world could have gone dark for hours, affecting not just your ability to share cute cat pics, let's say, but to communicate with friends or families overseas, or for businesses to stay connected. A Facebook official now telling NBC News the problem started with a networking issue that prevented data centers from communicating with each other, creating a massive ripple effect. That problem may be resolved now, but Facebook is still in the spotlight today here in Washington for a different reason.
Those familiar feeds finally back up and running this morning after a global outage nearly 6 hours long that knocked out not just Facebook, but Instagram and WhatsApp, which Facebook owns. The impact, huge. Facebook's platform has 3.5 billion active users around the world. In some countries, Facebook and WhatsApp can often be the main way to stay in touch, and some Americans use Facebook to sign into websites, apps, and services like smart TVs. Its CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, writing, "Sorry for the disruption today. I know how much you rely on our services to stay connected with the people you care about."
I can't stress enough how remarkable it is, how unusual it is. I mean, how many small businesses rely on Facebook? How many medium-sized, large businesses rely on Facebook? How many families rely on WhatsApp groups to speak around the world?
The scramble to restore service coming after a major technical glitch. A Facebook official tells NBC News the underlying cause of the outage affected internal systems, making it harder to diagnose and resolve the problem. And because the company's servers were not able to communicate, those problems cascaded. This official says no user data was compromised. That massive outage, just one of the competing crises for Facebook. Today, a whistleblower is set to testify against the company on Capitol Hill after sharing explosive allegations Sunday on 60 Minutes.
Facebook over and over again has shown it chooses profit over safety.
Frances Haugen, who worked at Facebook until May, going public with what she describes as Facebook's dangerous disregard for safety, lack of transparency, and spread of hateful, divisive content.
My hope is that Frances Haugen's courageous, credible performance last night will encourage other whistleblowers to come forward. Facebook is no longer entitled to a shred of trust.
A Facebook spokesperson responding to Haugen's allegations says, in part, protecting our community is more important than maximizing our profits. To say we turn a blind eye to feedback ignores these investments, including the 40,000 people working on safety and security at Facebook.
Do you feel like the bad guy in this? Why should they believe you when they know that people are getting in? Has it been worth it to make this trip? Do you feel like you're giving a green light to politicians? How do you explain why your case has become so important?
Make the most of your day with Today All Day. Get closer to all your friends in today in a whole new way.
Today in
30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Shop today with Joe Martin.
We're helping you shop like never before.
The latest styles and biggest names. Today food.
Things are heating up in the Today All Day kitchen.
Cooking essentials and recipe inspiration.
Get ready. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Only on Today All Day. Make the most of your day with
Today in
30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Savannah and Hoda bring you what you must know. The biggest moments of the morning.
One Republic!
Exclusive interviews.
Why did it work for you?
You're right. I am more talented than the rest.
And important headlines.
Major medical news this morning.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule. Streaming every day on Today All Day.
The Meet the Press Chuck Todd Cast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
We're back to our ongoing series, The New Space Race, and after years of boldly going where no man has gone before on television, William Shatner is now actually heading into real space.
1 week from today, Captain Kirk himself, the Hollywood legend, will join 3 others blasting off a Blue Origin rocket, sci-fi becoming reality for the 90-year-old icon.
And we are so excited to have our good friend Mr. Shatner joining us live. Okay, this is a big deal. I'm wondering, are you feeling scared? Are you happy you said yes, or are you having second thoughts?
All of those things, but I really said yes because I wanted to talk to you guys. It's the real reason for going up.
You don't have to go to space to do that.
Anytime, open invite. Hey,
please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, how'd the whole thing come about? Did you call them or they call you?
No, they called me. You know, it's fine. It's all. I'm loving the idea of having the opportunity to go, and the reasons why I'm going and all that we can all speculate. But the going up there is something. Al, you deal with the weather all the time. Last night, there was a big electrical storm here in Los Angeles, and I stood outside on the balcony and felt the storm. We talk about space and what weightless conditions are, and the enormity of the universe, and the absolute jewel of a little thing we call the Earth by comparison. I'm going to feel this with the same enormity that I felt this electrical storm last night. I'm going to see the vastness of space and the extraordinary miracle of our Earth and how fragile it is compared to the forces at work in the universe. That's really what I'm looking for.
So Bill, you just recently turned 90. You still ride horses competitively. You do all this stuff. Are you physically ready? If there's anybody ready to do this, I think it's you. You're probably the youngest 90-year-old I know. What have you done? Have you done anything extra to get ready for this?
Prep work?
Yeah, I had some apple pie last night. I thought
Sounds about right.
It's gonna be some trip.
Well, I mean, what do you do? What do the space guys do if they have to go to the bathroom?
You're about to find out.
Well,
it's only 11 minutes, so I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
you never know.
When you're 90, 11 minutes can be a long time.
That's how the pros do it.
And we are back with a bona fide music legend. Dave Grohl has entertained us for decades. I won't say how many. 16 times. He's won a Grammy, widely regarded as one of the most accomplished artists ever. Now Dave's out with a memoir. It is called The Storyteller, Tales of Life and Music, guiding readers through his younger years outside D.C., of course, drumming for Nirvana, creating the Foo Fighters, and his incredible adventures all along the way. David, so good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
You know, we have so many friends in the music business, and I always remember my buddies when they would get off tour, like your world comes crashing down. It comes to such a screeching halt.
Yeah.
You know, and I just wondered what the pandemic was like for you, because that's such an exaggerated version of just.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, I'm sort of creatively restless, so I always need something to do. And we had just finished making a Foo Fighters record. We made these documentaries, and we were ready to hit the road. Last year was our 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And then everything stopped. And so I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to make music. I just finished a record. So I started this Instagram page called Dave's True Stories, where I just wrote these short stories about crazy things that I'd done, like jam with Bowie or jam with Prince, only so that I could have something to do, but also so people could have like 3 or 4 minutes of like
story time with Dave.
Yeah, in their day, like in an otherwise dreary day. And then I realized we were going to be here a while, so I thought, okay, now's the time to write a book. And so I just took all those stories I was going to write and put them in a book.
2 questions. One, how do you remember all of these stories? There's so many moments, so many backstage, so many rock stars, so much, just so much mileage going back. Like you said, I could write a book about Scream, my first band, or a whole book about Nirvana, or a book about Foos. Do you have a great memory?
I do. And one of the reasons is because in all of these crazy, incredible experiences, when they're happening, like I'm in the moment, and I always think, oh, this is what I'm going to see right before I died. Like your life is going to flash in front of your eyes. And so every day I'm like, I'm going to see
Snapshots.
this. I'm going to see this. Like, I'm going to see this. And I kind of file all of these memories in musical increments.
Right.
So if you play me a song, I could tell you exactly where I was the first time I heard
that
it.
is
Or
crazy.
if I hear a song that I recorded, I could tell you exactly what I was wearing when I was there and exactly like what I did that day. So it's all just based on music.
So you obviously could have written a book a long time ago, or I mean, there's a lot of ghostwriting, but you wanted to write every word. Why was that so important?
Because both of my parents were writers.
Yeah.
My mother was a creative writing teacher. She was a public school teacher for 35 years. And my father worked on Capitol Hill. He was a Republican speechwriter and a journalist. So both of my parents were like brilliant writers. And I'd been offered to do books before where someone's like, just do 4 hours interview and someone else will write it. I was like, my parents would kill me if I did that.
Right.
So I had the time, and I enjoy writing, so it's fun.
I thought I was going to like this book in the same way that I wanted to read Neil Strauss's The Dirt, because I love Motley Crue, and I thought that was going to be kind of this rock star thing, but it's some of that. But the stuff that really resonated with me, maybe because I have 3 girls similar age, was the dad stuff. And I wanted to read just one to give people an idea. This is the sort of stuff that really caught my eye. Like you were talking about Violet, your oldest daughter.
Yeah.
First of all, you talk about how you used to talk to your wife's tummy when she was pregnant with Violet. And then the day that Violet was born, you know, I'm from LA too, you write about how you saw a rainbow that day, which is such a rarity in LA. And you went to the hospital. And then when Violet was being born and was crying, you spoke to her and you saw that she recognized your voice.
Instantly. I mean, it was, it feels weird to sit there talking to someone's stomach and saying like, hi, I can't wait to meet you.
We all did that. I did that too.
Right, and so she comes out, wah, screaming, and she's on that little thing, and I just got right close to her face. And I said, hey, Violet, it's me. And she stopped screaming, and she went like that, and we've been like that ever since.
And you feel that with her?
Still to this day, every time I look in her eyes.
You wrote, I remember the first time I had to leave Violet behind for tour. I stood above her crib as she slept. I began to cry. How could I possibly leave this little miracle behind? I had to tear myself away, and so began a lifetime of leaving half of my heart at home.
Yeah.
This isn't about a rock star jumping on a jet. This is about a dad leaving a daughter.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand, first of all, when Nirvana first became popular, my dad was like, you know this isn't gonna last, right? I'm like, no, of course not. Like, this is too good to be true. And so I always thought at some point it would sort of stop and then real life would begin. But then over time, I sort of realized, oh, those two things can work together.
Coexist.
And so, you know, my kids inspire me. And it's that love that then when I go on the road, it makes me want to play music even more.
We don't have much time. And I know that writing about Kurt was probably the last thing you did because it's the thing you wanted to do the least for the book. You talk a lot about death. You know, Kurt setting you up for another loss 16 years later in your childhood friend, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
But just how difficult was it writing about Kurt, and what did you get out of that? Was it cathartic in any way?
It was. It was actually the last thing I wrote. I put it off. I was scared to write it. And finally I came down to the deadline where it was like, you have until Tuesday to write this, and then the book's going to the manufacturer or whatever. And so I just locked myself in a room, and rather than sort of write some kind of like practical, logistical, informational piece about what happened, it was almost like the piece is about mourning and loss and grief and how we process that differently with each person, and how there's no textbook, there's no instruction manual on how to lose someone.
Yeah, suddenly too.
Yeah, so it was tough, but I did it.
We made a friend during the pandemic, you did, in Nandy Bushell, a little 11-year-old drummer who crushes Everlong. And then you guys get into a little drumming thing, and she's special. That was a great moment.
She's amazing, and there's nothing like getting your butt kicked by an 11-year-old.
Dude, she was ripping.
And the whole world watching.
It was incredible.
She's incredible. I mean, like, you cannot, this is the best drummer in the world. Look at this.
It was
person.
insane.
Yes.
How long she could hold it for. What did Taylor say when he saw that?
Oh my God, he's like, you're dead meat.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you're gonna win this one.
Well, hold on. Take a look at the screen here, Dave. We got something for you.
Mr. Grohl, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having a drum battle with me, for writing a song about me, and for inviting me on stage. I had the best night of my life, and good luck with your new book, Mr. Grohl. I'm going to read all the stories, and I really hope we get to write a song with each other soon. Bye. Thank you.
She brightens up everybody's
She's
morning.
amazing. She's so inspiring. She really is. She's the next generation.
And talented. Dave, congratulations on the book.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for coming.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it. The Storyteller is out now. For more information on the book, you can go to today.com/shop.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Will coronavirus come back next year?
So to help make sense of it all, we've created a newscast just for them. Man, you know a lot. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
Hey everybody, it's Hoda Kotb from the Today Show. I am so excited